Many of you have probably heard me telling my story of how I first came in contact with the Gita. But it was when I was 15 years old, and I guess I just had a lot of questions of life. Nothing was really going wrong in my life. It's not that there were necessarily any problems or any difficulties or obstacles. But somehow or other, life just never really made sense to me. I looked around at the world, I saw the things that people were chasing, I saw the aspirations people had, I saw what they were working very hard for and what they were working towards, and it didn't really inspire me so much. But I didn't know why, because I kind of looked around at the world and I thought, but this is what everyone's doing. So then I became a little inquisitive that maybe somewhere, someone has some answers for what is maybe beyond all of this. And that's when I began looking at different spiritual literatures, and I came across the Bhagavad Gita when I was 15, and thus began my journey. And now when I was 40, like 18 months ago, I turned 40. That's when we put this book together, looking at the different paradigm shifts. Because when I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, then I saw, oh my God, here is a book which is telling us to live in a completely different way to what the world has taught us. And so what I tried to put in this book, Gita 3, at least in the first section, is all of the things that I learned along the journey. And just to share that with you, to see if it resonates with you and whether you think it has value for you. So what I thought we could do today, there are 9 folders here with a lot of writing and a lot of thoughts from all of you. I don't know if we're going to get through all 9, but I thought we could start looking at a few of these, and I could share my experiences of how in my own small insignificant way I've tried to live this paradigm shift, and then kind of open it up to you to see what your thoughts, what your feelings, and maybe what your obstacles are to embracing this paradigm shift. Does that sound okay? Yeah? So does someone want to give me a number between what you're right in front of me? You got the center seat. So do you want to give us a number? 9. That 9. Okay. You weren't in group number 9, were you? Okay. All right, so here we go. This is the paradigm shift that Krishna talks about in chapter number 9, one of the paradigm shifts. And what I put was that the world tells you, ask God for what you want. It seems like that's what we're told from day number 1. Ask God for what you want. If you want to be prosperous, if you've got a health challenge, if you've got any difficulty, go to God. He'll help you out. So we're taught that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to ask God for things. But I said the paradigm shift that the Gita tells us to do is, instead of going to God and asking Him for what we want, rather we'd be more wise to serve God or give God what He wants. And so let's look a little bit more deeper at this. I grew up in a Hindu family. And so I used to come here to the manor from a young age. And I remember actually asking my parents, they would tell me, okay, go into the temple room, and when you go in front of Krishna, you have to make a prayer. And so I actually distinctly remember asking them as a child, well, what shall I pray for? And they said, pray for our good health. They said, okay, I'll ask Krishna that you should have good health. And they said, well, you can ask Krishna, you've got exams to do really well in your studies. And so all the natural things that we would ask God for. And I did that. But as I said, when I was growing up, I was seeing that people who had all of these desires fulfilled, it didn't actually make them happy, from my observation. So then I started questioning the validity of these prayers. When I started reading Srila Prabhupada's books, he told one story which stuck out to me and which I still love to tell today. He told of an old lady in India who would have in India they have this power, the ladies, to balance like these clay pots on their head, like the heavy pots. So she was walking in the midday heat, balancing a pot which was full of water, taking it back to the village so she could do her daily chores. And as she was walking in this heat, sweating, still far away from the village, she tripped up. And as she tripped up, she fell, and as she fell, the clay pot fell, and all the water went everywhere, and the pot just completely cracked open. And she just shouted out, "Krishna!" with such desperation. And in that moment, Krishna appeared. So there was Krishna, he appeared. He said, "Yes, you called me? I didn't know you were going to come." No, Krishna was here now. So Krishna said, "So what do you want? You called me with such desperation." She said, "Yes, I called you because I've dropped this pot, and I just want to ask you, can you just put this pot back onto my head so I can go about my journey?" Krishna says, "Okay." So there, in a flash, she stood up, the pot was reformed, full of water, back on her head. Krishna disappeared. She began walking again under that heat. And as she walked on and she started sweating again under the heat, she thought, what did I just ask for? Krishna came. Could have asked Krishna for anything. But what did I ask him to do? Just put the burden back on my head so I could walk through this midday heat, sweating and working hard again. What about if I had asked him for something better? And when I read that story, I was like, oh my God, this is the story of my life. So many things we ask Krishna for, we pray for, we ask God, we desire. And what do all of those prayers do? They're the wrong prayers, because those prayers just end up complicating our life. Those prayers end up creating other problems that we then have to pray for that to solve that, and then another problem that we have to pray for, and just perpetuating the cycle. There's a Christian saint lady, her name is Teresa of Avila, and she has a very nice quote. She says, "More tears were shed from prayers that were answered than from prayers that went unanswered." Because basically the problem with us is we pray for the wrong things. We ask for the wrong things. And even when we have knowledge, still we go to Krishna, still we go to God and keep asking for things because it may give some immediate relief. But in the long term, it doesn't give what we're really looking for. So over the years, I've tried to do this, to say like, maybe, just maybe, God knows what I need better than I think what I need. And therefore, then we begin to go in front of God, and instead of asking, go in a spirit of service. There's another very famous story, some accredit it to the Buddha, who once came to him and the student asked, what is the difference between liking and loving? And he said, if you see that flower, if you go up to that flower, if you like it, then you'll go up to it, you'll pick it, you'll smell it, you'll enjoy it, and then you'll discard it. But if you love that flower, then you'll go up to it, you'll protect it, you'll water it, you'll nourish it, and you'll respect it, so that everyone else can have the benefit of seeing the beautiful sight of this flower. And that's the difference between liking and loving. When we go in front of God, when we go in front of divine, it's an opportunity to ask ourselves, do I like God or do I love God? Because liking means asking, expecting, desiring. But loving means giving, serving, appreciating. And so over the years, I've tried to kind of make this shift, that instead of asking for so many things, let me just try and serve and see how the divine then reciprocates in my life. And I think it's a better policy forward. So this is, these are some thoughts. And it's interesting, the group that was doing number 9, they said that their main obstacle in making this paradigm shift, I'm sure you can think, like what stops you from doing that, making that paradigm shift? And their obstacle is very interesting. They say, because we have a lack of faith and trust in God. Because you have to have trust that God is in your heart, God is looking at your life, God is your best friend, and He knows everything that's going on. And when the time is right, He will intervene. When the time is right, He will change things. When the time is right, He will come and be active to provide you something. But until He decides to do that, I should just sit tight and just be patient. But that requires a lot of faith. Because sometimes we can go in front of Krishna and we kind of think like, you're smiling, it's okay for you. But do you know what's going on in my life? Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how intense this situation is? So it really develops that building of faith and trust in God. And how do we develop that faith and trust in God? Really, faith, I see, is developed in 3 ways. The first way is through philosophy. Just by hearing Krishna's words of reassurance, hearing of how He intervenes in our life, that gives us a lot of conviction. Philosophy gives us a lot of conviction because it helps us to see beyond our emotions. In an emotional situation, we're always thinking God is not there. But when we're able to see through a philosophical mind, then we can say, no, maybe He is there, but maybe He's planning something in a way I can't appreciate. So if you want to have more faith in God, grasp more philosophy. But not just that, I would say also, secondly, if you want to develop more faith, be around people who have faith. Because when you're around people who have that faith, it's like it bolsters your own faith, isn't it? Like, I've been in situations where I'm like, oh my God, like this is terrible. And there's just a very faithful devotee or spiritualist around, and they're just like super calm. And you're like, what's wrong with you? Oh, don't you see the complexity here? And they're just like totally calm. And then you're like, okay, well, they seem all right. Maybe I can also like simmer down here. So it's good to have people around you, not just people who have knowledge, but people who have experienced divinity in their life, because their faith is something that you can draw from. However, these 2 things, philosophy and people, these 2 things are not a stable foundation, completely stable. They're good building blocks, but they're not a completely stable foundation of faith. The ultimate faith comes from practicing in your relationship with God, taking a risk, allowing yourself to fall into God's hands and let Him catch you. And when you see that, yes, when I leave it to the divine, then the divine always reciprocates, then that experience of how He's always been there for you, that helps you to then in the future continue to put your faith and stop asking and trying to plan it out and just letting God do His thing. And this is in this way, it's a beautiful way to develop faith. So here today, as we begin our session, we're just reflecting on this paradigm shift. And as I share these words, I don't know, does anything go through your mind? Do you have any questions or any reflections? Are you able to make this shift to just going in front of the divine and not having anything to ask for? Can you do that? Is it easy? Yes? No? It's not easy. Anyone have any questions? Or, what are your thoughts? What could make it easier? Why isn't it easy? Why isn't it easy to just fall back and let the divine act? Yes?
This is my friend. So I think it's that question of timing, as you say, sitting tight and being patient. And I think that in an age where people expect an instant result or also really want control.
Yeah.
People have one want instantaneous results and 2 really want control. They want to feel that they're in charge, and of course philosophy is we are not the controller. That's a key thing to understand. But how do you have any advice or guidance on how to respond in a situation which requires both patience and letting go of control?
Yeah, such a good point. Yeah, patience is a virtue, and patience is something which in today's day and age is just being obliterated, because we live in the age of the instant. Instant messaging, instant connection with whoever you want to speak to, instant coffee, whatever you want, it's just available like that. And therefore people don't really have that quality of patience anymore. So how do we develop that patience? How do we sit tight in those times when we're expecting the divine to do something but nothing much seems to be happening? Of course, that's why number one, reflection is so important. And often again, many of you have heard me say this, but for many years I've journaled. And I feel like journaling, more than in the moment, what it helps you with is when you actually look back in your journal at the past. And every time I open it and I look at my past 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you begin to join the dots of how the divine was working all through those situations to where we are now, it gives you more and more of a visibility that, yeah, divine is active, God is active, Krishna is active. You can see it. Here you can see how your life has progressed. You can see how He arranged different things at different times to happen. And when you look back and you can verify that, then when you look forward and the road seems very far, in your heart you still have that trust, you have that faith. And therefore I feel like it's very hard to be patient for the future unless you are able to look back in your life and see the divine working. And I think many of us don't see that, because we just go through life, stuff happens to us, and because we're not very reflective, we don't see the divine hand in all of it. And so it's very difficult for us to perceive that the divine is active, because we're just not that thoughtful enough. But that's why we have to become very thoughtful. We have to see that, no, the divine has already crafted so many things. So why should I be in anxiety? Why should I be worried? It will happen. So, yes. Do you want to use the mic? Yeah. Oh, you were in this group?
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
my question,
Yeah.
so.
Would you like to say something about your... Yeah. There's a mic there for you.
Well, thank you. I think when you're trying to, or you've developed a certain degree of faith, there's an element of being tested, and I don't know if you've experienced this. Yeah, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that, right? Because when you've cultivated that certain degree of trust and faith in God, and that you're in a mode of service, and then you're sort of proceeding along that path, but God, I feel like, is sort of constantly testing you, not in a bad way, but just in the sense of how much do you want this, and how strong and how deep is your faith?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Of course, first we have to, I think, frame the obstacles in our life in a different way. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita begins with the paradigm shift. Instead of leaving problems, learn from problems. And that paradigm shift, what it does is it instills with you the immediate thought. See, our immediate thought when there's a problem, an obstacle, a test, our immediate impulsive thought is, how do I get out of this? Believe it or not, a spiritualist, and it may sound beyond us, but a spiritualist, when they face the obstacle, a test, a problem, their impulsive thought is, here is divinity giving me an opportunity to raise me to the next level. Why does a teacher give you tests when you're at school? Is it because they want you to fail? Is it because they're kind of narcissistic and they enjoy you seeing you struggle? Why is the teacher even quiet when the test is going on? Why don't they just give you all the answers in the exam room? First they set you the test and then they watch you there, like just struggling in the exam. I mean, that's not very nice. But no, the teachers are your best friends. They gave you all the lessons before. And now you sit in the exam, and the reason they're setting you a test is for you to then raise your game and then go to another stratosphere of functioning. And so I think the key to continuing on when our faith is tested is that we have to begin seeing tests and obstacles and problems in a different way. Believe it or not, in the ancient Bhagavat, there's a queen, her name is Kunti, and in one verse she says, Vipada shantu tahashashvat tatra tatra jagat kuru bhavato darshanam yachyat apunar bhavadarshanam. She says to Krishna, don't try this at home, may you send me more and more obstacles. May you send me more and more tests. May you send me more and more difficulties. Because in all those tests, problems and difficulties, I become more conscious of you. I learn to depend more on you, and I bolster my spiritual consciousness. So that's why I'm saying the Gita is helping us to look at life in a completely different way. Who experiences a test, problem, difficulty, obstacle in their life and is like, okay, let's go? Very few. But those few people are the ones who have actually developed spiritual vision. And this is why when we read the Gita, we begin realizing that being a spiritualist is no small thing. Being a spiritualist doesn't mean coming to a temple. Being a spiritualist doesn't even mean doing meditation every day. Being a spiritualist doesn't mean that you know so much aspects of philosophy. Being a spiritualist is that your vision of the world is completely different. You just have a completely different vision of the world. You frame things in a completely different way. And so I think it's about seeing tests as the opportunity to grow and learning to embrace. I gave a seminar recently called Becoming Comfortable with the Uncomfortable. Are we ready to learn that art of how to become comfortable with the uncomfortable? Because when I look back in my life, I realized that the most uncomfortable situations were the situations in which I grew the most. And we all have that experience. Yet when the discomfort comes, we're immediately trying to get out of it. But maybe we can try and embrace it. That would be amazing. So, easier said than done, but something to think about. Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on this or anything you'd like to share? No? Okay. Want to give me another number?
5.
5. Okay, let's do 5. That's a good one. This is for all the students who have exams coming up. Chapter number 5, the paradigm shift Krishna gives. The world tells you, be the best. Be the best. Get high grades, get a good job, be successful, have plenty of things to show the world. But the Bhagavad Gita tells you, just try your best. That one's so simple, but that's so difficult to live. It's so difficult to live because we live in a world of expectations. This was one of the hardest things for me when I joined the monastery because I was going so much against the grain. There were so many people around me who had so many expectations for my life. And to be able to shut all of those expectations out and follow my calling was very, very difficult. Because you want to be accepted, you want to be appreciated, you want to be acknowledged, you want to be Yeah, you want all of these things, you know. So being the best is a result of that mindset comes from heavy expectations around us. And the first thing that the Gita teaches us is that we don't need to take the world's expectations as seriously as maybe we take them. Does that mean we forget about what everyone expects of us and we just do our own thing? No, expectations are good. It's good in your life if there are people who have expectations of you. However, you have to ask, are those people and their expectations, how seriously should you take it? Krishna says, if there are people in your life who know you, who love you, and who are spiritually advanced enough to help you, then their expectations count for more. There may be people in your life who love you, but maybe they don't really know you, and therefore their expectations may not be realistic. Or maybe there are people in your life who know you, but they're not really intimately connected with you, seeing that you become successful in a deeper way. So their expectations don't count. And there may even be people in your life who know you and love you, but maybe they don't have the spiritual vision of the bigger purpose of life, and therefore, although their expectations are in all good sincerity, you may not want to take their expectations as seriously because their expectations don't factor in the bigger picture. The problem with us is we take everyone's expectations equally, and then we try running around in our life frantically to satisfy everyone, and in the end we satisfy no one. And therefore Krishna says we have to be able to detach ourselves from the noise of the world, which is always telling you be this, be the best, achieve this. And Krishna says, detach yourself from that and just realize that success is in the endeavor. And what does endeavor mean? Action, attention, and intention. If you do those three things, say for example a student has exams coming up. Action, if they do their revision according to the activities that have been recommended. Attention, if they do it regularly and give their best time to their revision. Intention, and they do it, with their heart, with the right purpose, for the correct cause, then it's already a success. It doesn't matter what grades they get. What? No, but success is if you get a first. No, that's not success. Success is in the endeavor. Success is in the attempt. Success is in the sincere thing that you're trying to achieve. And then whatever happens after that, once you've tried your best, whatever may conspire, we have to understand that there's a deeper providence which is engineering that outcome. And that is the best thing for me in my life. And when we have that level of detachment from the results, knowing that I've tried my best, now I just detach myself. When we have that level of detachment, your life actually becomes very, very light. But if you don't have that detachment and you're constantly judging yourself on results, then you'll constantly be in anxiety, you'll constantly be frustrated, you'll constantly be in the mode of comparing with others, competing with others. But no, you're on your own journey. So you just try your best. And then after that, step away and realize whatever happens for the best. And so I have to say also, this really helped me in my life. And it continues to help me today. Like not a day goes by now where I'm not addressing an audience. And sometimes when you're addressing an audience, it can be like hit or miss. It's like sometimes you're speaking and everyone looks completely disconnected. Everyone looks completely like in another world. Everyone looks like so serious. and you're just thinking, oh my God, I'm just holding all these people here. It's so difficult. Like, if only the floor could open up and I could just disappear. And then sometimes you speak and you're connected. You're connecting with the audience. They're sharing the love, you're on the same wavelength. It's really happening. So you never know what's going to happen when you come in front of an audience. Anything could happen. But nowadays I realize I'm just an instrument. So I come in front, I try to do the best I can. I try to give the best of myself. I try to give my heart. I try to give my best effort and my best endeavor. And then after that, I've done my duty. I can't control it beyond that. And it really helps. Because otherwise you come out of an event and you just think, never again. I'm just out of this. I'm out of the game now. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it. It doesn't feel comfortable. But when you just detach yourself, and shall I tell you another amazing thing? Is that when you speak to an audience, sometimes you can think you're really connecting, but there's not much transformation taking place. But sometimes you can think you're with an audience and no one's really, but few people come out and there is a paradigm shift. You see, we don't know the results. So we have such a stereotyped idea of success. So Krishna is saying, if you try your best, then whatever success is meant to come will come. And how and in what way it comes, we may never know. We just have to try. And so this paradigm shift is known as karma yoga, because the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is all about karma yoga, which means the art of acting and at the same time being detached. Is it easy to be detached from the results? No, because the world is judging you on results. But you have to have that internal conviction, that internal, if I do the right thing and I try my best, then that is success. Any questions or comments on this yet?
You mentioned success and transformation.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned success and transformation. If we want to serve our friends, our peers, and help them,
Yeah.
but okay, in the action of that, we might have different views and visions. So you might feel you want to help a friend, say for example, but it looks different for them. Or they're on a different journey. How can you? What's your recommendation for sort of aiding that process? And how do we know or think we're supporting the right way?
Yeah, so you want to help someone in their life, but their idea of what kind of help they want and your idea of what kind of help you want to give them may not match. And so how do we deal with that? Yeah, I mean, the famous saying was, treat people as you'd like to be treated. But later on they said, maybe you should treat people as they'd like to be treated. And I think that's the first thing, that we have to treat every individual as an individual. There's a big tendency within us to always project on others and believe that they have to live the life that we live, they have to do it the way we did it, and they will find the answers as we found the answers. And therefore, inadvertently, with all good intention, we can often end up projecting on people. Parents sometimes do this a lot with their children, sometimes consciously, a lot of the time unconsciously. But we have to understand that everyone is going on their journey and learning in their own way. Like even in this room, we all learn in different ways. Like some people are left-brained, it's like left brain and right brain, isn't it? Left is analytical, right? And right is more creative, or maybe the other way around. So we all learn in different ways. So when we want to help someone, we have to be very sensitive to their needs, their interests, their concerns, their personality. That's the first thing. And then we adjust according to them. They say if you want to take someone somewhere, first you have to meet them where they are. So meet them where they are. Connect. Develop a relationship of trust. Show that there's some connection there, that you are their well-wisher. And then try to see the best way to get through to them. But even after you've done all of that, you have to understand, we all have to understand that you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's another aspect of detachment. That sometimes you just have to let it be. Like even parents with children, at a certain point they just got to say, okay, do what you need to do. And that's very difficult, but we got to do that. Because even Krishna does that at the end of the Gita when he says to Arjuna, I've given you all the knowledge. Now you think about it and then do what you want to do. Up to you. So we also, when coercion, expectation, imposition, when these words come into our mind subtly, then it spoils our interaction with others. So we have to inspire people, we have to empower people. And how we do that, it's a great art, how to do that, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm just looking behind you, and Revati's there, and she's a good coach. She's a coach, she's an expert. So coaches never give you the answers, right? Coaches just they just get paid for asking questions. They make you do all the hard work. They just ask questions, and it's there, it's within you. So why do we always have to give people the answers? Yeah, if they ask, we can give them some guidance along the journey, but let them discover it for themselves as well. There's something to be said for that. Some thoughts? Yes, is that a question? Oh, I think. Anyone else have any thoughts on this paradigm shift? Instead of trying to be the best, just try your best. Any thoughts on that? Yeah?
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say, because from my childhood, I think everyone expected so much, to be the best.
Yeah.
And I always endeavored to be the best. It is so much ingrained that
within you.
I myself actually feel so bad if I'm putting an effort, but I'm not getting the result as I want. Actually, it's now no one actually is there, at this age to exert anything on me, but I can.
It's self-imposed.
Myself, yes. It has become a bit of a compulsion that I'm doing it, even in this path of philosophy or anything, bhakti, and I'm doing it, and I should get it. But it shouldn't be like that, I know, but it's so hard.
Yeah. And that's why spiritual association is so important, because sometimes we think our mindsets, our narratives in our mind cannot be changed because they're too ingrained. But actually the association of spiritual people helps you to actually change those narratives. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated when I came to the temple, was that these people were just different. They weren't expecting the same things of you. They were just happy for you and what you were achieving and what you were doing. And I was like, wow, it's so easy to be around people like this. And by being around people like that, then what happens is it helps you to unlearn a lot of these narratives that have been etched within us for many, many years. So yeah, thank you for that point. So it's really important to have just people around you who you don't have to prove yourself to. Yeah, if you look in the material world, basically everyone's trying to prove themselves to others. Yeah, so a lot of social media and a lot of all these things are just that, prove that I'm achieving, prove that I'm happy, prove that my life is going just great. But they say create a life that doesn't just look good on the outside, but which feels good on the inside. Otherwise, it's smiling faces, crying hearts. So yeah, it's about unlearning those narratives. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We have 5 minutes left. And we have 7 more paradigms, so we're going to make all of you wait here for the next 5 hours while we go through all these paradigms, because we have to do every single one. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to go for another paradigm because, you know, it takes time to go into it. I'm just going to kind of open it up. We've got 5 minutes. If there's any other last questions, it can be to do with anything we talked about today, or it can be anything you discussed in your circles, or yes, okay. The event wouldn't be complete without a question from Sujata. I've got my bulletproof vest on because she usually has like very thought-provoking questions. Yes. I'm not putting you under, no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Just be your best, do the best you can.
It's more about, we were talking about earlier where you should just trust in the divine. I think it's something that maybe a lot of us struggle with, maybe we don't, but I've often found it hard to conceive that something out there can love me unconditionally when I've never experienced that unconditional love on this earth. It's never been modelled to me. We've often been criticised. That's where I find it really hard to trust that, you know, something out there can love me in my completeness, my warts and all. And that's where the conflict comes in a lot of the time, between trying to take control self and say, okay, let's just hand it all over, because I've never seen it. I've never, maybe we've had little moments in our lives where we've felt something greater, but it doesn't feel like a constant. It feels like you have to prove yourself, and you don't feel like you're worthy. I don't know if that's making sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like all the relationships of this world that we've had, sometimes we look back and we think everything was so transactional. There was always some intent, some level of expectation from someone else. Even in very close relationships, we often feel that. So then this idea that, yeah, there's a divine out there and it's completely unconditional and there's no strings attached and it's completely selfless, it feels a little far, a little maybe even utopian. Once I was giving a talk and someone put their hand up and said, do you believe in love marriages or arranged marriages? And I was like, are you serious? Are you asking the right person? That's a question for Jay Shetty, 8 Rules of Love, you know? Not me. Don't ask me. There's a deep, as in, when they talk about love marriages, they're talking about the idea that, you know, like people just find their own partners, and arranged marriages, the parents find. So they said, do you believe in love marriages or arranged marriages? So I said to them, well, does every love marriage have love? They say sometimes, sometimes not. So did every arranged marriage have love? I said sometimes, sometimes not. So then I said to the person, what's more important than how two people come together is what they do after they're together. That's what's actually going to define the relationship. And the precursor to love is commitment. So where there's commitment, then love comes about. And why am I saying this? Because I think also it's the same in any loving relationship, and it's the same in the loving relationship with the divine. That we just have to go on that journey and just make a commitment to investing in that relationship with the divine. And as time goes by, we'll experience that selflessness, that interaction, that closeness, that intimacy, that very tangible connection. And it becomes very, very beautiful. That tangible connection with the divine is what actually this whole process is about. What really, really impressed me when I came to the Hare Krishna movement was how people would talk so personally about Krishna. It'd be like, oh, Krishna's playing a joke on us. Or, oh, Krishna arranged that. Oh, Krishna, I'm sure he has some plan behind this. And when they would just say this, like in normal conversation, And I had never thought about God like that. I was like, God's up there somewhere, you know, like, is he really like active in my life and so personal and so close and so active? But they would talk about God like this. And I thought, wow, that's so beautiful. That Krishna is not a distant God, but Krishna is a very close God. And you can actually experience his presence. I had never thought about God like that. Oh, my conception of God was like, yeah, God's up there, and you know, as long as you toe the line, don't, you know, anger him, then he'll let you be, and he'll let you do your thing, and then he'll be there, and you do your thing, and you know, we don't cross each other's path that much. But here was a very active, personal, close, and that was very exciting to me. Like, wow, there's a Krishna, and like he has a connection with you, and you can like talk to him, and he even plays jokes on you. Something like, wow, that's amazing. And over the years, for me, that's been the most beautiful thing about Krishna consciousness, because the most beautiful thing about the Krishna consciousness movement is Krishna. Because Krishna plus everything makes it all beautiful. So how do we get trust in that? How do we just go on the journey and just open your heart and just try and invest and be a little committed in that relationship, as you were in so many relationships of this world? Yeah, many of you sat there or stood there and made vows till... Okay, there you go. Don't make a vow. Yeah, you made vows, till death do us part. Okay, are you ready for your whole life? Did you really you made a commitment? Yes, you did it. So now make a little bit of commitment, not a casual commitment, a solid commitment. And see, maybe, just maybe, Krishna is ready to come in and start also playing jokes and making arrangements and having a laugh. It's very nice, it's very beautiful.
Can I just ask another quick thing off the back of that, something I've always wanted to ask?
Yeah, sure.
Obviously your whole life has been, you've felt this, but what's one of the most profound, and it's personal, you don't have to share it, but what's one of the most profound standout moments for you where you really, really felt?
You put me under pressure, I'd say something really, really deep, really, really out of this world, super mystical. How do you even convey things like that? For me, sometimes it's the simple things. There have been moments where I've been chanting, and it's not that Krishna appeared out of a genie's lamp, but there have been moments when I've been chanting. It's said that the name of Krishna, there's a beautiful Sanskrit verse, Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta Bhinatvan Nama Namino. It's a beautiful verse. It says that Krishna's name is like a touchstone. Rasa Vigraha is the very form of all relish. And Bhinatvan Nama Namino, there's no difference between the name of Krishna and the person Krishna. So there's a sense in which if you're very connected, when you say Krishna, then Krishna is right there, he's present. So there have been moments where I've been chanting and there's just been a complete presence in the moment. A complete sense of the past just fades away. The future just becomes like inconsequential. And for those moments, you're just like there in the moment. And you're just like, this is life. This is perfection right here. In my life, I never experienced moments like that. Because to be completely now in the present is so difficult. Because the present, the now is never enchanting enough, it's never interesting enough, it's never absorbing enough to hold you there. There's always some element of dissatisfaction in the present, and therefore we're always gravitating either to the past or future. But when chanting Krishna's name, it's inconceivable, you know. It's just like sometimes you just feel like I don't need to go anywhere, be anything, do anything. It's just here. This is it. This is perfection. And so I think things like that have really solidified my faith, and many other things also. But I think those other things, if I tell you, I don't know how much people will relate to that. So I'm just trying to give you here something relatable. So yeah, there have been moments, definitely, that keep us going, keep us hungry. Yeah, it's a beautiful process.